Welcome. I am Daisy, your hostess, and you are in my book playlist. We are now in a new book. It's titled Self-Development, A Handbook for the Ambitious, and it is written by Addington Bruce. Like I mentioned before, I do have another book by him. You could check the book playlist. It's titled Stiffening Your Mental Backbone. Before I get started on the next chapter, I'd like to highlight a little bit on the previous ones. And if you are new to this channel and you've just found us at this chapter and would like to catch up, please visit my book playlist and you will see other books there as well, and you can catch up. I was very happy to see that this author tackled this particular topic on this last chapter about being interested in one's job. Surely when it comes to self-development, this also involves how we are performing not only in our personal life, in our family life, in our personal relationships, but also in our community and in our work and careers. How important that was. I really liked that the author recommended to pursue some literature on psychology. Funny that when my son was taking up studies in college and the university, one of the things I told him, I said, son, if you can, take yourself a course on psychology, take a course on nutrition, and take a course on marketing. And I tell you why. Because in life, regardless of what profession you're in, you will benefit from learning a little bit about the mind. Not only your mind, human behavior, but that psychology that helps us really connect with each other. So I thought that was good. And then I figured, okay, well, he could take a nutrition course because you know what? There's always ways that we can improve on knowing how to fuel our body. And thirdly, then I said, well, marketing, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for a company, it should be our aim as employees and also an employer or a business owner to know how to promote and market our field. Because guess what? If we are bringing and attracting more business, whether we're self-employed or we work for someone, it's going to make everyone happy because at the end of the day, we get to share our gifts. We get to share what we put into 8 hours a day, especially if we're working for someone. So here, this is how it all resonated for me about this last chapter titled, what was it titled? Making oneself interested. And he was referring to making oneself interested in one's work. So thinking about this, I loved how he stated, putting one's soul into one's work. That's how we become interested. And the other thing is also, if you find yourself that you are working for someone or working in a field that doesn't interest you, then you also have to look at the people that you are working with. Are these people bad-mouthing the boss, bad-mouthing the pay, bad-mouthing the work? When in fact, we should be very grateful. We should be grateful that we can be of service. And I like how he suggested, change your group of friends, and not to dump them right away. But if your friends are not elevating, your coworkers are not elevating and helping the workforce improve, then guess what? It's not helping you because they may turn on you and then report you to the boss. So the best thing is align yourself with the mission of the company, align yourself with the leaders, and guess what? You're going to, at the end of the day, be of better value. Imagine if you started taking management classes, improvement classes, learning about the trade or the skill of that particular field you're in. It's going to change your perception or how even your boss perceives you by 10%. I heard a long time ago, you want to be better? Just change by 10%. This is walk a little sharper, dress a little sharper, speak a little clearer, speak a little faster, just be more engaged. And you know what? That 10% is going to make you shine far more than everybody else. But sometimes, we don't want to, what is it called? Stir the pot because, they might think that you're, what do they call it? Brown nosing to the boss. Well, you know what? Those guys and gals, my dear, they're not paying your bill. And at the end of the day, you need to run your race, right? Okay, so that's that whole story. It's like, tell me who you hang out with and I will tell you what you are or who you are. And let's see, what was the other point I wanted to share that I thought was really good? Yes, a story from my father, may he rest in peace. So my father was telling me a story of the bricklayer. There were a bricklayer and a couple friends, right? As the story goes, according to my dad, there was this construction site and there were two bricklayers. So one person was walking by and said to bricklayer number one, "Sir, what's going on here? What are you working on?" "I'm just laying bricks here." That's what that guy said. Just laying some bricks here. And so the person walked on and talked to bricklayer number two and said, "Sir, what are you working on here?" "Oh, I am here. We're building a hospital. This hospital is going to save so many lives. We're going to have some real good doctors and staff here. And that's what we're going to bring here, a beautiful hospital for our community." What a difference. One guy just saw himself and his significance as not much, just one brick up to the other. Just a drudgery, like this author said. While bricklayer number two, he saw himself as part of something big. And he was taking pride in the bricks he was laying because it was going to help people, save people. It was going to bring a place for doctors to work and people to feel better. So that's how we need to see. Sometimes we need to see the big picture of what this mundane task that I'm doing can serve humanity. And I hope that this helps you in whatever you're doing in your life. If you just need a little, what is it called, perk, a little new perspective on how to gain a new lease on life, right? All right, let's move on now to the next chapter. And it is titled Aids to Real Thinking. Most people, I repeat, go through life without doing much thinking really worthy of the name. They constitute by far the largest of the three classes into which all mankind may be divided. The first of these is made up of people who think energetically and effectively, testing every proposition by the principles of logic reasoning. The second class comprises people whose thinking, as a rule, is colored and weakened by their prejudices and prepossessions. Into the third class fall people with little continuity or effectiveness of thought, and with a marked tendency to accept the thoughts and suggestions of others. If you can honestly say that you belong to the first of these classes, if you must confess that your thinking is mostly sort of dreaming or is unduly determined by your emotions, then bestir yourself to become the real thinker you must be in order to achieve your highest possibilities. Like everybody else, you, of course, have opinions on a great variety of subjects. Have you ever examined any of your opinions with reference to the grounds on which they rest? If you have never done this, I would suggest that you take some subject on which you have a definite opinion and submit your opinion of it to a really critical examination. The result may be somewhat surprising and extremely profitable to you. Take, for example, the subject of a protective tariff, concerning which you are, let us suppose, strongly anti or just as strongly pro. Ask yourself why you feel as strongly as you do regarding the protection issue. Is it because you have carefully considered the arguments on both sides and have formed your opinion after deliberate reflection? Or is your opinion chiefly an emotional reaction determined by circumstances of the moment and of your environment? Are you in favor of protection or opposed to it for no other reason than that the majority of your relatives and friends are in favor or opposed? Is your opinion only an echo of theirs? Scrutinize similarly your opinion on other subjects. Try earnestly to ascertain your prevailing mode of forming opinions. Consider whether it is a process of impartial, thorough, active reasoning or a process of passive suggestibility. Far too many people, let me again remind you, are dependent on the ideas of others for the opinions they call their own. They think as their fathers and mothers think, or as their daily associates think, because they have never formed the invaluable habit of thinking things out for themselves. If you find that you belong to this unfortunate and exceedingly numerous class of people, try to emancipate yourself forthwith. Slavish acceptance of tradition, slavish submission to prejudice are signs of a truly appalling mental weakness. You can't become a man of mark, a man of real achievement, so long as you are but an echo of other people. You can't possibly progress as you should in your chosen life work, for the highest success demands vigorous, alert, independent thinking. And your thinking is the opposite of this, as revealed by your blind, uncritical assimilation of other people's ideas. Brush the cobwebs out of your mind. Rid yourself of the rubbish of prejudice and prepossession. No longer be content with surface thinking, which is not thinking at all. Form the habit of looking at everything from more than one point of view. Balance, weigh, test, observe, analyze, meditate. It will help you do all this habitually if for a time you daily give yourself some systematic practice in thinking. And in that practice period of half an hour or an hour daily, you will find it especially helpful to write down your thoughts on paper. This for a reason that may be given in a few words. When pondering any problem, one of the greatest difficulties is to hold the mind concentrated on it. Fugitive ideas will fly in to distract attention. By writing the thoughts down, this disturbing tendency may be checked. Seeing concretely before him the conclusions at which he has already arrived will help the thinker to keep his attention fixed on the subject he is considering. Besides which, he will find it easier to appraise his thoughts correctly. Vagueness and incoherence of thought quickly reveal themselves when given formal expression in written words. Concentration will, moreover, become still easier if the writing is done in a quiet place. Noise is always a potential thought disturber. There are many people who school themselves to think efficiently in veritable hubbub of noise. But even these masters of concentration would find it to their advantage to avail themselves of the aid of quiet. And having found a quiet room in which to think and to write down one's thoughts, make sure that it is a well-ventilated room. Thousands of people suffer from a sadly and needlessly diminished thinking power by reason of the fact that they habitually do their thinking in rooms where fresh air finds it difficult to enter. Often, they are appalled at the difficulty they experience in concentrating their thoughts. Sometimes they even consult a doctor, imagining that they must be victims of a strange disease. The real trouble is that they have forgotten that their thinking organ, the brain, is soon poisoned by foul air, hence fatigues rapidly when any demand is made on it. They do not need medicine, they do not need even a special training in concentration. What they need is fresh air. So great indeed is the value of fresh air as an aid of efficient thinking that, if the weather permit and quiet can at the same time be secured, the practice period in thinking systematically might well be taken outdoors. Recall, in this connection, the experience of children who receive their education in so-called open-air schools and open-window classes. These special outdoor schools and semi-outdoor classes were originally established for the benefit of tuberculosis children. They are now being increasingly used for children in perfect health for the reason that they have been found most advantageous for educational purposes. It was discovered, in the first place, that the tuberculosis children educated outdoors not only gained in health, but made rapid progress in their studies. This led to the belief, confirmed by experience, that children in general would think better and learn more easily if given outdoor or semi-outdoor schooling. And this is, after all, only what one should expect in view of the known dependence of the brain on a good air supply for its proper functioning. Climatic conditions, it is true, have to be taken into account. There are times when outdoor thinking is inadvisable for anybody. But even at such times, it is possible to have a better quality of indoor air than most people now have. And if it is not too cold or wet or stormy, but merely too cool to sit outdoors in comfort, Abandon for the time your practice method of writing down your thoughts and go out and do your thinking, walking about. Walking is as conducive to efficient thinking as it is to the gaining of ideas, especially if the walking is done outdoors. People, alas, are too prone to forget they are by nature outdoor beings. Civilization has tended more and more to indoor modes of life, yet something of the old outdoor habit must be regained if men and women would utilize to the full power their mental as well as their bodily resources. Keeping in mind the importance of fresh air, keep in mind, too, the fact that because of the dependence of mental power on the state of the brain, clear thinking will be promoted by making it a rule to do no hard thinking for half an hour or more after meal times. After meals, the blood supply to the brain is temporarily lessened because of the special demands made by the digestive organs. The effort to think at that time will drag the blood back to the brain, and the result may be both physical and mental indigestion. Remember also that under the best of conditions, mental concentration itself has a fatiguing effect on the brain. Consequently, it is a real aid to thinking to relax mentally at frequent intervals during the working day. The relaxing need be for only a few moments. It is amazing how quickly the brain refreshes itself. But if it be denied brief breathing spells, it is sure to take its revenge by refusing to work well. Combining due regard for these hygienic principles with the plan of devoting practice periods to setting one's thoughts down on paper, marked improvements in ability to think should soon follow. Nor need you limit the writing out of your thoughts to practice periods. Make use of it whenever you have a difficult problem in business to solve. Go to your desk, take a well-sharpened pencil, and put down the ideas that come to you in connection with the problem to be solved. Put them down exactly as they come, with no attempt at first to estimate their importance or to secure clearness of expression. Have in view only the purpose of making a record which shall preserve for you all your ideas bearing on the problem in question. The chances are that you will discover two things. One is that, as already mentioned, by giving yourself the definite task of recording your thoughts, it will become easier to keep your attention fixed on whatever is perplexing you. And secondly, you will find that by thus writing down your thoughts, the flow of ideas will be swifter and more coherent than when you merely turned your problem over in your mind. After a while, of course, even the stimulus of writing will cease to bring ideas readily. This may mean that there are no more ideas to come, or more likely, it may mean that your mind is fatigued. Glance over what you have written. Then, if possible, put it aside overnight, or at any rate for a few hours, and turn your thoughts to something else. Coming back fresh to your problem, take up the written record once more and go over it item by item. The probability is that some of the thoughts you have recorded will immediately impress you as being illogical or unsound or possibly foolish. Take your pencil and strike them out. If any new ideas occur to you, add them to what you have already written. Now make a copy of your record, revising and condensing each sentence so that it shall express with real clarity the thought with which it is concerned. By this time, you will be in a position to appraise the results of the thinking you have done. And you will either have satisfactorily solved the difficult problem or will have the ideas relating to alternative solutions so definitely presented that it should be an easy matter for you to make an intelligent decision. Besides which, you will have given yourself some practice in the art of writing. This, of itself, is of no small importance, no matter what your occupation, for you are certain to have business letters to write, and the clearer, the more compact, the more to the point you can make these, the more advantageous will they be to you. Suppose now that circumstances prevent you from resorting to this plan of thinking with the aid of writing. You may be where you cannot find a place to write. Writing material may not be at the moment available, etc. Try another plan, for knowledge of which I am indebted to Mr. Greenville Glaser. It is a plan which has the special advantage of promoting speech control as well as thought control. Or, as Mr. Kleiser himself puts it, quote, "One of the most valuable habits to cultivate is that of thinking in words. Ordinarily, thoughts flow through the mind like a desultory stream, so that they take no definite form and consequently are difficult to recall or record. By means of daily practice, however, you can secure better control of your mind and train your thoughts not only to move slowly, but to assume clearer and more definite shape. Incidentally, a habit of deliberate thinking will promote a desirable habit of deliberate speaking. Choose a subject in which you are deeply interested, and as you summon your thoughts, say over the words mentally. Put the thoughts into communicable form, so that if it were necessary, you could instantly speak such thoughts aloud." End quote. So helpful is verbal thinking that I would recommend practice in it as supplementary to practice in written thinking, not merely as a substitute for the latter. As before, choose as quiet a place as you can find, where you will be undisturbed and not disturb others. There, either say over mentally or speak out the thoughts that occur to you on any subject you wish to ponder. If at first they are chaotic, illogical, and generally unsatisfactory, do not let this discourage you. Rather, it should have the effect of spurring you to get a better grip on both the content and the form of your thinking. Appreciating the need for improvement, you can now proceed to gain improvement by patient revision and reconstruction of your spoken ideas. The result, if you persist in systematic practice for only a short time every day, is almost certain to be your evolution into not only a better thinker, but also a better speaker. And this will be to your advantage, whatever your special line of work. Particularly, of course, will it be to your advantage if you are engaged in some occupation which puts a premium on alert thinking and facile speaking, some occupation such as the church, law, salesmanship. For now, you can influence others as perhaps you have not been able hitherto to do. You can meet objections, marshal facts, drive home arguments, illumine, suggest, persuade. Innumerable are the men who recognize that they are sorely handicapped in life by inability to talk well. Back of this inability, though they may not suspect it, is pretty sure to be failure to think definitely. For such men, most of all, is conjoint practice in verbal thinking and oral expression extremely helpful. Though I would also urge it on everybody, not limited to those who need it most. End of chapter. In the next video, the next chapter will explore cultivate imagination.